In the silence of the night, when the city fades to black, there's a man at the table with the whole world on his back. Coffee getting colder, screen burning bright. Augusto keeps on riding through the fire of the night. By day he works the system, by night he breaks the code. While the world is sleeping, he's still walking down that road. Notebook full of battle scars, headlines on the page. Every line a spark of fire, every word a cage he breaks. He knows great copy doesn't fall out of the sky. It's born from sweat and pressure, from the will to question why. There's a market, there's a hunger, there's a pain they never show. There's a hidden conversation only real research can know. Between the hook and headline, he's digging through the silence where most men quit and fail. With a pen like a weapon and a heart that won't surrender, he turns another midnight into one more contender. Pen, coffee and conversion, fire burning in his soul. Study scars and devotion, turning pressure into gold. Augusto writes by daylight, by night and through the dawn, turning silence into copy, turning copy into song. Direct response in his bloodstream, strategy and emotion. Every ad becomes a doorway to a brand new explosion. He studies every rival, every angle, every frame, spying on the market like a hunter in the rain. Not to copy but to capture what the winners leave behind. The patterns and the pressure, the triggers in the mind. He reads the comments closely, he listens between the lines, finds the fears and hidden wishes buried deep inside the signs. Engineer inside his thinking, copywriter in his chest. He measures every failure and keeps testing for the best. If the CTR starts falling, he knows where to investigate. Conversions start to weaken, he rewrites another fate. And when the midnight calls him, he answers with a flame. A builder doesn't sleep when there's legacy in his name. He's not chasing easy glory, he's not waiting for permission. He's building every sentence with precision and ambition. Pen, coffee and conversion, fire burning in his soul. Study scars and devotion, turning pressure into gold. Augusto writes by daylight, by night and through the dawn, turning silence into copy, turning copy into songs. Some days the mind gets heavy, some nights the body bends, but he thinks about his family and he rises up again. Copy is not just writing, it's a road he chose to build, a bridge between the hunger and the promise to be filled. He doesn't wait for fortune to come knocking at the door. He creates, revises, tests it, then he comes back for more. Every mentor, every lesson, every late night revelation becomes another brick in the wall of transformation. They see the final numbers, but they don't see the fire. They don't see the glowing screen at 3 o'clock at night. They don't see the cold coffee, the tired eyes still open, or the sentence rewritten until the lock is broken. But God sees every effort, every silent sacrifice, every step into the unknown. Pen in his head,
daylight, by night and through the dawn. Turning silence into copy, turning copy into songs. Direct response, and in his bloodstream strategy and emotion. And every ad becomes a doorway to a brand new explosion. Then, coffee and conversion, heart still beating like a drum. Research, faith, and obsession. He keeps fighting till it's done. And when the sun comes rising, there he goes again, with faith inside his heartbeat and lightning in his pen. Through ads, offers, research, and endless creation, Augusto keeps on moving, pen, coffee, and conversion.